So the piano lesson, as I just said, August Wilson has been responsible for a lot of very iconic, legendary plays in his career. And in recent years, Denzel Washington, who we've spoken a
Mhm.
lot about recently, has sort of taken it upon himself, his responsibility to kind of shepherd a lot of these stage play adaptations into feature films. He did it first with Fences back in 2016, a movie that he also
Yeah.
directed. He also did it with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom a few years ago, which also released on Netflix, starring Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman. And now that this is the third most recent adaptation of an August Wilson stage play, The Piano Lesson, which is directed by his son, Malcolm Washington. And of course, it's also starring his other son, John David Washington, who's the older brother of Malcolm Washington. This is Malcolm Washington's first feature film. He recently finished film school, and now he's tapping into the family business, a very, very profitable and strong family business at that, stepping up to the plate, getting behind the director's chair. And also, interestingly enough, this is reuniting much of the cast that already did this stage play just a couple of years ago. John David Washington, Samuel Jackson, Ray Fisher, and I believe Michael Potts are all returning
Mhm.
from taking the stage play live a few years ago in 2022. And so many of them have already done this material many, many times together. And so they're reuniting for this film. And so it's a very, very small, intertwined, sort of family prospect and family thing that they're doing here. And they just recently released this movie on Netflix. Lots to talk about, lots to get into, especially as it relates to potential, I think, even award season chances. But before we do that, let's
Mhm.
just, give our general thoughts. What did you overall think about this new film, The Piano Lesson?
Yeah, I was really excited to check out this film. I think, when earlier in the year, when we're talking about our fall top 10 most anticipated, I'm pretty sure I put The Piano Lesson in there. We've seen a preview at the Miami American Black Film Festival. And yeah, it's just something I looked forward to. I love August Wilson's work. His He has so much meaning and thought behind his work, and it's really for us, by us, and it really gets me interested in seeing everybody that will be part of this, between John David Washington, Malcolm Washington, Samuel Jackson, and Ray Fisher, and Danielle Deadwyler. To me, is low-key one of the best actresses working right now. She just needs more work and more shine, but she is so good at what she does. And so I was really excited to check this out. I had never seen the original Piano Lesson. I always knew about it, but I had never seen it on Broadway or any of anything locally or anything like that. So I was like, okay, it's time to check out the Piano Lesson. I really don't know much of what it's about, and so I'm gonna go in completely blind. And after watching it, man, I liked it a lot. I could really understand and feel what this. I think what takes away from the movie for me. I'm gonna start with this is what I could feel, what this could feel like on a stage. I think that's what took away from the movie for me a little bit. In watching it, I like how intimate it was. There's only like 2 or 3 settings in the film. And this film is pretty much about a brother and a sister fighting over a prized heirloom piano. But this piano has a very interesting past with it, and you kind of go back and forth between what the past is and what's happening currently in these people's lives. And it's something about the way it felt and how intimate it was. And I said, man, I wish I would have seen this in play form. And I know that should sound like a praise thing, but I'm like, no, man, I like this, but like, show me the Broadway play, or take me to a play where I can watch this and see how it feels on stage, and see how some of these performances come through. But on the flip side, I really enjoyed that aspect as well, man. I love seeing how intimate the performances are. There is like some good chemistry between people here, and it's really, I like it. I like that it's about heritage, and it's about things you inherit, and it really is about the state of where you decide to take your family, and generational healing. And I love all the themes that are embedded within it. But it was a good watch, man. It was fine. I just wish there was a little bit more to chew on by the end of it. But I absolutely, I think cinematically, Malcolm did a good job. As a directorial debut, I was like, dang, you came straight out of school. You did pretty darn good here. I can't wait to see what you do in the future. But I think the Piano Lesson was definitely beautiful in its own right, and I enjoy watching it, and I can't wait to talk to more people about the themes and things that meant here. But yeah, there's a supernatural thing to it that I just wish I had seen in a Broadway play. There are things that you can do in on the stage that you can't do in cinematically, and vice versa. And though they did have to make some of those choices to convert some of those things into the movie version of this, I was still interested to see what it would look like and what that meant in a play sense, in a theater sense. And so yeah, though I enjoyed it, that's the thing my mind keeps going back to. Like, dang, I really want to see this. But yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. I really like the performances. Danielle Deadwyler, still a beast. Samuel Jackson. I mean, I really like the cast completely. I think they did what they needed to do. But yeah, man, I can't wait to see what conversations come from this.
It's a solid debut for Malcolm Washington. I'm very interested to see where his career takes him. He clearly has talent. He clearly has a knack for this. He has a great eye already, I think, and great sensibilities. And I've seen a number of interviews with him talking about his attempts to kind of break the stage format in the making of this movie, which I think you have to do. I think you have to break down what you foresee as something that's going to be a very potentially faithful adaptation of something that is just so inherently a stage production. And there's definitely attempts here at doing that I think I admire those choices. I admire what they went after here. And I think ultimately the film ended up being pretty good. It's a solid film. And again, I think it's a solid showcasing for his talents and some of the stories that he's probably interested in telling, especially considering that this material is so closely tied in with his family at this point. Ultimately, the movie for me is worth watching because of Danielle Deadwyler. I think she's absolutely the best part of it. Anytime she gets an opportunity to shine and just go on a monologue and just really showcase her abilities and her talent, she's really phenomenal. The ensemble cast, the actual talent here, they're all incredible. They're all incredible in their own right, and the fact that they already have chemistry and that can just translate on screen. I think you can feel that, and I think that they showcase that in a pretty great way here. But it is just such inherently a stage production, and it's really, really hard to translate that to screen and to not make it feel like you're just watching a play that's cinematically filmed. That's one of those hurdles that is really difficult to overcome because there's not a bunch of big over-the-top spectacle-like things that are happening in this particular story. They do go after some of those things, which are interesting. There's a lot of that supernatural Southern Gothic stuff that they infuse. There's blending of multiple genres. There's horror in there, of course, the idea of the family drama and the compelling legacy sort of dynamics that they introduce there. Lots of stuff going on. Again, all interesting and I think admirable choices. But at the end of the day, it is very much we're going kind of from room to room. We're hearing the next segment, the next monologue, the next exchange of dialogue. And that might not be the best thing for some people in terms of what they want to see in terms of a film. It works completely on stage. It's just really hard to pull off, and that's not anybody's fault. But when you do a cinematic adaptation, that's something that you have to deal with. And they've done this before. Like this has been adapted into a film before in the 90s. Alfred Woodard was in the movie, and it's very similar. Like it's a lot of just moving between rooms, very stationary stuff. And even some of these previous August Wilson adaptations that we've seen, like Ma Rainey's and Fences, have gone through similar challenges. But I would argue that even a movie like Fences is a little bit more cinematic than this one is, I think. And it's much more stripped down and raw, and you can just really get to the performances of that. But again, Malcolm has a huge, huge career ahead of him. If he chooses to continue down this path, I'm really interested to see what he does. But what do you think about potential award season chances? I mean, we're on the cusp of a lot of these nominations and announcements coming out. We're going to talk about Golden Globes next week. Oscars will be right around the corner. Do you foresee that this movie might get any acknowledgement or recognition from a performance standpoint, a technical standpoint, anything that might be highly recognized come Oscar season?
Yeah, the most buzz I think I can see is potentially something particularly for Danielle Deadwyler, which I think some might predict she could wind up in best supporting actress. I think that's the thing that makes the most sense to me. But I'm not sure. Other than that, I think that's the one thing I can see actually happening. Maybe something under the line like a makeup or a costume or something, but I don't even see that stuff. I don't think. I think for the most part, in my mind, that's the only thing I can really feel potentially happening is Daniel Day-Lewis for best supporting. What about you? What do you think?
I really hope that's the case, considering what happened a couple of years ago. her being overlooked for Till, obviously.
Mhm.
It would be nice to see
Exactly.
her acknowledged in Best Supporting Actress. I think that I think she has a pretty decent shot because that is not as competitive as Best Actress. So I think she has a pretty good shot. Here's the unfortunate thing, though. This is on Netflix, and Netflix notoriously is known for really kind of hitching their bets on one movie and putting their full support behind one title in terms of big Oscar plays. And right now, that title for them is Amelia Perez.
Amelia Perez.
I don't know if they're going to put a ton of support behind the Piano Lesson because that's a big part of it. It's not just like, oh, the movie's out, and so let's just wish and hope for a nomination. Like they have to campaign for this and pay for the big, huge campaigns. I don't know what their plans are. I don't know what they're going to do or not do for the Piano Lesson. But perhaps just the strength of Danielle Deadwyler's performance might rise above all of that. Potentially, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but potentially Best Adapted Screenplay is possibly on the table for Virgil Williams and Malcolm Washington. That would be interesting if that was to be the case. But again, I know Netflix is just they're fully behind Amelia Perez at this particular point, and they typically don't split their resources and their efforts between numerous titles because they're very gung-ho on that one. But we'll see. I mean, hopefully that is a wrong prognosis and we can end up seeing some recognition, hopefully, for the Piano Lesson in some deserving categories. But we'll know more in a few short weeks here. But folks, those are all of our thoughts on Netflix's new August Wilson adaptation, The Piano Lesson. If you've checked out this movie, hit us up and let us know what you think.